Hey guys, you know, about last week or around last week, I did a video. Well, I was getting ready for work or getting ready to clock into work. And the video basically was, well, let's be honest. I hadn't seen the movie, but recently I just obtained the movie, and that is the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. Well, actually, Scooby-Doo and the Curse of the 13th Ghost. As a matter of fact, grab it right here. I recently had obtained this, thanks to Frank Hill. It's Frank. Now, despite the fact that I had obtained this, there was one thing that got a lot of people upset about it. Now, even though the reaction is kind of 50-50 at times, I would say more along the lines of maybe now 70-30 or something. That 70 mostly being dissatisfaction, if you will. The one thing I talked about in that video was the ending. Now, the ending has pretty much already been talked about, spoiled and all that. And it's even put up on YouTube in a clip. Places like YouTube, Vimeo, and all that in a clip. But what really upsets a lot of people is how they basically bring this all to a halt. Basically how they kind of wrap this whole 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo thing up. You see, the overall answer, in the end, ladies and gentlemen, the overall answer is that the 13 Ghost series, according to the ending of this movie, never really happened. Yeah. That basically this was all an illusion brought on by hallucinations by Shaggy, Daphne, and Scooby, and Scrappy, due to the lack of oxygen during the flight over the Himalayas at a certain altitude. Yeah. Basically, the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, which Frank Hill also sent me a copy of, the complete series, according to the follow-up movie and its ending, all was an hallucination. So tell me, movie, you're saying that in the first episode, Daphne turning into a werewolf was an hallucination. Am I right? That's what you're saying. That Daphne turning into a werewolf and then turning back into a human thanks to the juice or mystery juice or whatever it was that Flam was selling was an hallucination. You're telling me that them getting sucked into the comic strips of a newspaper and I'm just checking something here for a moment, them getting sucked into the television was all an hallucination. Is that what you're saying? So everything they went through in the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, everything they experienced was an hallucination, was an illusion. Okay, folks. Let's talk here for a second. It's one thing to come out and say that something is not real. It's one thing to come out and say that somebody was imagining something due to lack of oxygen or due to lack of hydration or whatever. But it's been firmly established, even Mystery Incorporated pretty much firmly established the fact that 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo actually happened. And yet, the people behind this movie, behind this latest edition of the Scooby-Doo direct-to-video movies, comes out and says it doesn't, or it didn't. Let me explain something to those writers if they're listening, if they are listening. You know, you could pull this off. You can pull off this answer, give this as a straight answer, saying everything that was brought on to them or brought on to this person was due to a lack of oxygen, lack of hydration, and all that, and thus, because of that lack of whatever they needed, they started hallucinating and imagining certain things. Okay, I can accept that if somebody has lack of hydration and oxygen due to being out in the hot desert, in a hot car, due to basically having a lack of air due to high altitudes. I can accept that for one person, but not 3 to 4. 2 dogs, 2 humans, no. Because again, you have too much, there's too many things that happened. One, you established that Shaggy and Daphne somewhat were an item and they lived together. You showed, like I mentioned in the beginning, Daphne going through a transformation into a werewolf due to the fact that she drank some wolf's bane. You have them getting sucked into a comic book, into a comic strip. You have them getting sucked into a television. You have Daphne be put into a freaking Sleeping Beauty sleep to only Scooby can wake her up because he's a Great Dane. And most importantly, you have this freaking crystal ball that was being used to contact Daphne, Scooby, and Shaggy. And in the end, you want to toss everything that happened, but the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, and what even happened at the beginning, you want to toss that all away for it to be an illusion. And most importantly, you want to basically use the same old plot point that you've been using recently for a while. Yes, it has proven to be very popular when it comes to Scooby-Doo, but you basically now want to use it as a plot point to wrap up and bring this controversial cult classic phenomenon, popular incarnation, fan favorite incarnation of Scooby-Doo to an end by saying Shaggy, Daphne, and Scooby hallucinated the entire thing? Really? So Vincent Van Ghoul, you basically point out that he hallucinated to be this great sorcerer when he was just a magician, former archaeologist or something. I don't get it. It's like I said in the original video. Here you had the momentum. You had the momentum, the opportunity to go in a direction that no one else has gone. True, ladies and gentlemen. True, I will admit that they did kind of tease the fact that maybe parts of it, like with the Chest of Demons, is real. I'll admit, they tease that. Hold on. Like I said, folks, sorry for the interruption, but like I said, you have this, you basically take everything that made this series very popular and a cult classic and a favorite to a lot of people, and you toss it out the window to basically say it didn't really happen. So you're saying to us as fans to go out and spend about what, $10 to $12 on the complete series, that this incarnation of Scooby-Doo, thanks to the ending of its follow-up to the follow-up movie based on it, to kind of give it a proper conclusion, that this never really happened? It doesn't make sense. And again, you even tease at the fact that maybe there is a bit of truth to it, but you don't follow up. And I just don't understand it. You have all these episodes, or all these adventures that took place in the series. You know, you take all these episodes that took place in the series, and you know, from It's a Wonderful Scoob, like I said, Scooby-Doo and Quacky Land, which I think was the comic strip one. You know, it's like you take all these episodes right there, all these adventures, all 13 of them, and you basically say that they didn't happen. You basically give what people consider a slap in the face, a middle finger, to the people behind the series, and you basically say it did not happen, that it never occurred. Ladies and gentlemen, that does not make sense. I mean, again, I understand you're wanting to go down and you want to use this popular trope that's been utilized for Scooby-Doo for so long, that's made Scooby-Doo what he is today, the man in a mask thing. You want to go and use that with 13 Ghosts by saying the 13 Ghosts is actually Vincent Van Gogh's former archaeologist partner in disguise, and that the real 13 Ghosts is at rest. You know, you want to go down that route. And yet, you, you basically blow an opportunity, I should say, to really go back to your roots as far as the movies are concerned. Now look, no problem with going down that route if you want to in a follow-up movie to the series, as long as the real 13th Ghost comes into fruition, becomes a reality. Because if not, then, you know, well, here's the thing, and I'm sorry for the interruption, to kind of threw my thoughts off course here, but here's the thing, why even do the movie if all you're going to do in the end is just say, yeah, that show that it's based on, that we're making this movie to be as a proper conclusion, this show, yeah, we're going to use this movie to say it never really happened. It was all brought on by a hallucination. And then you have the gall to kind of do a little tease of saying, or was it kind of deal. but not particularly, from what I've read. Again, I haven't seen the series yet, but from what a lot of people have said in reviews through Amazon, through Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb, to even Frank Hills, about the guy that sent me the movie, has said this is a huge letdown. Because again, you could have gone back to the roots of what started and what made the Scooby-Doo direct-to-video movies popular, going outside the box and actually acknowledging that there are some things that are truly supernatural and beyond explanation. You cannot go back, you cannot take something that opens the door for you to do that and say, yeah, it was, that series was more supernatural than anything, but we're going to go the route that's always been true to Scooby. Again, what it does is, despite this movie being alright, being decent in the eyes of some people, and having good animation, it takes all that and just throws it out the window, and it makes this movie, this latest edition in the Scooby-Doo franchise, a complete waste of time. Like, this movie did not have to be made as a conclusion to the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. It did not have to have its special features being the first and last episode of the series that it's based upon. It did not have to be made if all you're going to do is take this supposed 13th ghost and turn it out to be a man in a mask, and then in the end say, basically have Velma say, something along the lines to Vincent Van Ghoul, which she later reveals that she just said to make him feel better, and then basically have her also acknowledge, Daphne, Shaggy, Scooby, you guys probably hallucinated that entire situation, that entire series of events. All that series of events might have been just an illusion. You might have hallucinated it due to your lack of oxygen at these high altitudes in the Himalayas. And then, like I say, you have the gall to kind of tease that maybe it was real, but you're still sticking with it wasn't. It doesn't make any sense. Again, so many things happen in those 13 episodes, especially the first one, that you have the gall, like I said, to basically say that none of it happened. So you're telling me Daphne hallucinated herself drinking wolfsbane, and thus causing her to temporarily turn into a werewolf. You're telling me she hallucinated that. You're telling me that, right? You're telling me she hallucinated having herself turn into a werewolf. No, that doesn't make sense. That does not make sense, folks. Okay? It's like with Transformers the movie. It's like you take the third season or the tail end of season 3 and you bring back Optimus Prime, and you're basically saying, yeah, he didn't really die in Transformers the movie, but he did. Or you basically, okay, let me put it this way. It's like you go from season 2 directly into season 3 of G1 Transformers, and you have all these new Transformers. You're wondering what the ones you know of. You get all these little hints and references and acknowledgments of something happening, of something that occurred, but you don't see it happening because later on it's acknowledged at the end of the third season that all it was a dream by the original G1 Spike when he was a teenager or something like that. Again, that's how much sense this makes. That's how much sense this makes. It does not make any particular sense. If you're going to go down the route out of saying that an entire series doesn't exist. It's like you're taking the series and You're opening up a trash can and saying, dumping it in there and throwing it away with the rest of the garbage so that nobody knows about its existence. It's like you're taking this and you're doing what people at Area 51 and sometimes in the FBI and all those other secret, top secret government agencies or whatever out there, you're taking this, you're opening up a file box and you're filing it away under secret files or unknown files or shows that don't exist but they do. You're doing all that when you basically say at the end of this that this never really happened and all it was a hallucination. That doesn't make sense, guys. It really doesn't, and I think you know that. And I think you know that. Because what's funny is you have Boomerang. People have Boomerang. They have the Boomerang app. They can pretty much go and watch 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo anytime they want. Even the newer generation of fans. And even that newer generation would say, yeah, this is a change from the norm. This is completely different. Things are actually happening here. And yet, you want to use the movie here to say that what these newer generation of fans would agree on being real and supernatural and actually legit is not really happening because all those 13 adventures are hallucination. Again, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense, and it makes you taking the time to animate, write the script, animate, color, draw, whatever, voice these characters, bring this whole thing to life, a complete waste of time. You basically wasted, in people's minds, Matthew Lillard's, I think Mindy Cohn's, Greg Delsey, Frank Welker. You wasted their time, Will Ferrell, Maurice LaMarche. You wasted their time voicing the characters in this movie. You wasted their time. You made it a complete waste of time for them because in the end, all you're doing is taking something that they probably watched growing up in the 80s and enjoyed and thought was a great diversion from the norm. And you're basically saying, by using the end of this, you're having them say, yeah, it doesn't exist. So in other words, if this doesn't exist, then this shouldn't have been made if that was the route. Because again, despite it being a good story, and it could have been a story used for any other Scooby-Doo movie, you use it to basically say 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, which is supposed to be a conclusion of, never really happened, due to the fact that it was brought on by Shaggy, Daphne, and Scooby, and Scrappy, if you will, as being an hallucination, lack of oxygen, due to the altitude they were flying at through the Himalayas. Really. It doesn't make sense. Again, I know I'm repeating myself here, but it doesn't make sense to do that. Again, if you're going to go down that route, fine. But don't go down the route, don't go down it unless you basically give us a twist at the end and you show that the actual 13 Ghost is around and you have him get captured. And then maybe you destroy the chest of demons to make sure none of this ever happens again, or you bury it 16 feet under. Look, there are people that are going to watch this video that were excited about Scooby-Doo and the Curse of the 13 Ghosts, thinking they were going to get a proper conclusion. But after reading what people have had to say, and the fact that, like I said in that original video, what were high praises seen on places like Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb, and other places, slowly, if not quickly, rapidly descending into disappointment, they too would agree that this movie didn't have to be made if you were just going to say that what it's based upon and trying to be a proper conclusion of was nothing but an illusion. It didn't really happen. If that was the case, if that was the truth, if that was the case, guys, here's what could have happened. Here's what should have happened. You could have had this be a dream brought on by Scooby in the end. You could have had the ending of the movie, of this movie, with Scooby waking up, still laying in the lounge chair, wondering what's going on, and all he was doing was dreaming this whole, oh, we're going back to the Himalayas deal, and thus you wouldn't have to worry about insulting the fans, because still, to someone like Daphne, Shaggy, and Scooby, it happened. Anyway, you could have done that. Heck, they could have done that if they wanted to in the original series, but they didn't because they knew they wanted to go in because the plan was to go and complete the series and go in a different direction that fans enjoyed. I mean, they were already incorporating this stuff in the new Scooby-Doo Mysteries, the series before this. Heck, they were even incorporating some of the supernatural even way back, like in the all-new Scooby-Doo movies and sometimes the Scooby-Doo show. You know, they were already incorporating a lot of this into the programming. You did not have... The thing is, the truth is, you had an opportunity here to really kind of go back to the roots of the Scooby-Doo movie, direct-to-video movies, and do something completely different, and basically throw people for a loop, and actually give a proper conclusion, and actually kind of acknowledge with this new phase of Scooby-Doo movies that there are some supernatural things that you can't explain, but instead you decide to chalk it all up to another Man in a Mask deal, which again I wouldn't have a problem with if they would have gone with the twist of there is an actual 13 ghost on the loose. I wouldn't have had a problem with that. But instead, you decide to go the Man with a Mask in a mask route. You decide at the same time that everything that happened to Shaggy, Scooby, and Daphne and Scrappy was all brought on by the three of them, because of lack of oxygen at the altitude they were flying, thus causing hallucinations and illusions. And that's another thing that throws me off. All three? You sure? Because I can believe maybe one or two, mostly one, but not all three. So, again, story is good. Overall, people say the story is good. Animation looks great and everything. But it's the third act structure. It's that 3-act structure deal. And it always seems that certain movies will hit all 3 strides all at once. And hit them perfectly so people can enjoy the movie and give it praise. But there's always that one act with other movies where it slips up, whether it's the beginning, middle, or end. And in this case, it's the 3rd act structure, where you basically say, that this entire series of events that occurred, that this movie is trying to conclude on, never really happened. It doesn't make any sense, Warner Brothers. It doesn't make any sense, folks. So, really, I don't think... Look, the movie's probably good. I'm going to check it out eventually. And thank you again, Frank Hill, for sending it to me. But to go that route and say all it was an hallucination, an illusion brought on by 3 people, not 1. Come on, 1 I can understand. To me, it's a slap in the face, and I'll be honest, I don't think they had any clue how to really wrap this up. And you know what? Some people say it was a quick cash cow. Maybe it was. Maybe they saw the fact that fans wanted to get this proper conclusion, and they said, well, we could do that, but we'll just go this route, and just get it out as quickly as possible. Again, if that was the mentality of, let's make it a cash cow, all you did was waste the animators, the script writers, and the voice talent's time on this movie, because if that was what you were going to do, then you didn't have to make the movie. Just be honest with you guys. So, But let me know what you all think down below. Sorry for the interruption earlier. And I will talk to y'all later. God bless. Take care. But let me know what you all think.